So how do you start a family business? Well, in today's video, I'm going to talk to you about how you start a family business, what the pros and cons are, some things to keep an eye out for, and really give you some encouragement to do this if it's right for you. Most businesses throughout the world are family businesses. Matter of fact, more than 80% of the businesses in the entire world are family businesses. And in the United States, 62% of the workforce is employed within family businesses. Now, they come in all sizes, from very large businesses to very small businesses and everything in between. And it's great because your family may be perfect for a business. And one of the things you can do in a business that's really terrific is you can build a legacy for people downstream from you, meaning kids and grandkids and great-grandkids. So you can build a legacy for them. Second, you can build a life where there's a better balance between family and work. Because when there's no outside relationship, like not a family involved, businesses can be very uncaring. It's like you're going to go work in Singapore, or you're going to Boise, Idaho to work for the next 6 months, and that's it. And they don't want to hear about kids that are sick or kids that need care or anything else. They just want to know if you're going to go do the work or if they're going to find someone else to do it. So it can be very impersonal and very hard on a family life. And let's face it, at the end of the day, when you're looking back in your life, you're not going to wish that you had gotten the extra promotion. You're not going to wish that you had just made the extra money at the expense of the relationship with the friends and family that love you and are around you. And a family business allows a much better balance with that. Plus, you can build equity in it. You know, it's hard to build equity inside a job. If you have a job at a company, they pay you when you're working. And then if you're lucky, when you stop working, they pay you a pension, but there's no equity in it. It's not equity, but in family business, there is equity, and you can pass it on in the line of succession. So it's really great. And some of the tricks with family businesses are you do have to navigate the personal relationships and the business relationships. And that can be tricky. And it's good to have open conversations about that and talk to people about it, and to have a board of directors that's setting direction and choosing who's going to be the executives in the business. It's good for the executives in the business to be respected as such. You have to make sure that, the younger ones, who are probably not the executives, respect the lines of authority, and that they toe the line, and that they come in, treating that as their boss, not because it's their mom or their dad or their cousin that they should have some special treatment. They shouldn't. And they should come in and work in the different aspects of the business, work their way through the more menial jobs, and work their way through the different departments so that they understand the business, and also so they truly feel like they earned their way in. If you give people just the gifts just because they have the last name and they don't have to perform, they don't have to do anything, it's not doing anybody a favor. The company's not going to flourish. They're just going to be fights. And you're better off, as you are in all things in business, if there's a problem, cut it off early and hard and decisively. So if someone truly is not a fit, you need to counsel them out. You need to say, look, this isn't a fit. I'm not happy. You're not happy. Let's help you get you into another company where you can succeed and you will be happy and won't be fighting like this. Because you do not want someone in your family business that isn't a fit. And that's another thing. Do not give away business ownership just willy-nilly. Like, don't start transferring business ownership to the younger generation just because they're around and breathing. Because when they have business ownership, they have a lot of rights they otherwise wouldn't have. Keeping them as employees, they can get the business later. They get ownership when they've earned it, when they're in an executive position, when they have the relevant experience, and when they've shown they can do it. Then you start transferring ownership. Before that, you can give them money, you can pay them well, but ownership, no. And I can tell you, as an attorney, the ownership is a big step, and you want to be really careful with it, because as soon as you give that, you get minority shareholders' rights, and you can create all kinds of problems for yourself if the relationship goes bad. So don't put someone in that position of leverage, otherwise you can create problems for yourself. Also, with the family business, make sure that you're putting people into jobs that they're truly suited for. So if you have someone who's a wonderful manager of people, put them in that role of managing people. But if they're not, if they're a person that, can't manage the best worker even moderately well, don't put them in that role. Maybe you have someone who's like great at sales. They're amazing. Like, they can go out there, they represent the company really well. Well, they may not be a good sales manager. Don't make them subject to the Peter principle where they just ascend until they're incompetent. If someone isn't good and shouldn't be doing that role, don't let them have the role. I don't care if they have a last family name or not. If you're truly serious about being successful, you do not want to put them in a position where they can't succeed or where the other employees get disillusioned and annoyed because that person, because they have the last name, is getting a position that they're not at all suited for and not at all competent in. The other thing with family businesses is think about sending someone out to work in another business that's an exceptional business, especially when they first, say, graduate from college or first start taking on their working role, because they can learn how another business does it. And they can learn things and bring valuable things back, valuable insights, plus probably bring back appreciation for working within the family business where there's extra flexibility because everybody has the family and the family legacy in mind. So there can be extra goodies that come because of that, meaning, hey, they're planning a wedding. Yeah, you're going to be taking some time off work that maybe you couldn't do in another business that wasn't a family business. But in the family business, everybody's like, yeah, let's meet with the wedding planner from 1 to 2 in the afternoon on Wednesday. We'll take some time off work and do that because you need to, which I think are some of the joys of a family business. Now, I have a family business. I have this Overages business that I do where we're helping people to get monies back from foreclosure auctions when there's extra money left over. I'm not going to get into all the details of that right now, but what I wanted to share with you is this business is run by my brother and I. And thankfully, both of us can stand on our own in business. My brother is a good business manager. He has background in business management, managing Fortune 500 type companies. So he's an executive. He's not a subject matter expert in what we do, which is overages. I'm an attorney that is a subject matter expert in what we do. I wasn't when we started, but I developed into one. So I provide the subject matter expertise and the technical expertise and the doing of the money because we get monies back from governments for people. So I provide that part. My brother Ed finds employees, supervises employees, sets up systems, sets up standard operating procedures and things like that, and he manages the business. Keeps an eye on the money and things like that. So he's doing that, allowing me to just be the subject matter expert. And we overlap in some things, like we'll have executive meetings every week making decisions, but we try not to do the same job. If we're having a meeting with an outside person, doesn't mean both of us are there, because if both of us aren't needed, both of us are not there. So we have to trust each other to do our job. And I'm thankful that I have someone that's competent to do the part that he has, as he would say to you, he's happy to have me because I'm competent to do what I do and do it well. What you don't want to put yourself in a position, if you have an incompetent person or someone who just never works, don't put them on the payroll. Even if you get pressure from your family, it's not helpful. It only gets worse. Because if they burrow their way in where they actually get a job where they can impact your business, but they're not good at what they do or they just annoy the other employees, they need to go. I had a family member like that in my business, and she had to go because she did nothing but make trouble. And everywhere she would go, she would make trouble with employees, make trouble with suppliers, make trouble with business contacts. And I finally had to just say, no, I don't know what the issue is, but everywhere you go, there's an argument with somebody. And that's not good for the business, not good for the family. So, you need to do something else. That was a hard decision. And what I realized from that is that I would have been better off never starting at all. And all the signs were there. She was that way. And she was just a person that needed to be a loan operator. And I tried to fit, a foot into a shoe that didn't fit. This was not Cinderella with this particular thing. She's a good woman, but just wasn't a good fit for that. And so when you decide to take on the family business, you're going to take on some hard decisions where you've got to, counsel a family member out of the business. If you've really created a pickle for yourself and given them ownership interest, you're going to end up counseling with lawyers to buy out their share of the interest, and you're going to create problems. So, don't do that is what I would say. Keep the ownership away from most people until they earn it. And that's usually when the eldest class is heading off into retirement and leaving, then they want to start turning over shares to the next in line. Not before then, I wouldn't do. Make sure that there's a fit. And also consider, if you don't have a business, say, well, what could I even start? There are a lot of businesses for sale. You can work with business brokers to find great businesses for sale, especially because of the demographics where, people are turning 65 and 70 at great rates, 10 to 14,000 people per day, depending what year you're talking about between people turning 65 to 70. Many of those people are business owners, and they get to the point where they want to sell their business. They may not have another generation to leave the business to, or their generation may have moved on to other fields. Like my wife is a good example of that. Her mother owned a dental laboratory. my wife went to work on Wall Street. She didn't want to work in the dental laboratory business. So when my mother-in-law went to retire, she sold her business because it wasn't a business that my wife wanted to be in. And my wife was doing far better on Wall Street than the dental business ever did. And that's fine, but that creates an opportunity for you. And you can work with business brokers to find businesses that you can buy. Often these things are available with some owner financing in them because they're hard to sell. So it can be a great opportunity. Just look for something where you do good due diligence, get a good team together to do the due diligence, check things out thoroughly. But you can walk into a business that's running and with new energy, probably even make it bigger. And that's a great way to do it. Overall, I think a family business is a wonderful idea. I think you get a much better balance of family time and family life versus work time. I think if it's a business you pick that can grow and flourish, you can supply, a good living for entire families for generations and do really well with it. And I think it can be great. So I do think it's a good idea. I just think that the cautions are put people in the right role, do the hard decisions when you have to, don't wait. Make the hard decisions when you have to. If you have to counsel someone out, counsel them out. Or if you have to not let them in the beginning, don't let them in at the beginning. You follow your instinct on that. And a couple of quick notes. Make sure that you put it into a legal business structure and you have the agreements in place up front. Because up front, it's really easy to put agreements in place because people don't have feelings that, oh, I've worked and built this, or I did this, or I did that. Instead, everybody's just agreeable and excited to go forward. That is the time to get your LLC operating agreement in place, to get your business things in place. Do it right up front, because if you do it later, it's much harder and much more expensive, and it involves attorneys, sometimes bickering attorneys, so that's not good. So get an attorney right up front, get your operating agreement in place, get the business structure down, and that'll put you in a position to win. And also, when you have family member disputes where people are having trouble, you should develop a group of experts that you consult with and that everybody listens to. They might be experts, like in our business, we have experts in marketing, we have experts in law, we have experts in tax, we have experts in accounting. And when my brother and I see something differently, we'll call on our experts. Because we have a complicated international business, so we have to get things called transfer pricing studies and things like that. And, we don't always know the answer, and sometimes my opinion is different than my brother's. We have experts that we bring in and consult, we listen to them, and we make a decision. And we also have a third board member that we brought on to do tie breaking so that we don't end up with just a lock like this. Instead, we do tie breaking. And you want to have that structure, and you want to set it up front. Don't wait on it, because up front is when everybody will agree to things. So hopefully this is helpful. If you liked it, give it a thumbs up. If you have more questions, put them down below, as well as any comments. I'm happy to look at them, consider them, do more videos, answer questions where I can, and hopefully help you have a wonderful family business where you build a legacy, you build family wealth, and you build a better family life, because family is the core and the bedrock of a good life and of our country. So hopefully you can use this as one building block under that to have adequate money for the family.